Good morning, Steve Kunkel here, Kunkel321 on the AutoHotkey forums, doing a demo of AutoCorrect 2. Going to focus on the HotstringHelper tool today. So if we press Win-H, the default hotkey, we should see HotstringHelper, which is this here. I didn't invent the concept of HotstringHelper. It's a little tool that was embedded in the original autocorrect AHK library by Jim back in 2007. It was just a simple input box that's evolved into this big monster here. Uh, so I made it specifically so that it could be used for autocorrect entries or boilerplate text entries. And so today let's focus just on the boilerplate part of that. So first of all, with boilerplates and autocorrects, excuse me, allergies here. With autocorrect, I share my library every once in a while and post it on GitHub, but I don't share my boilerplates because I figure that those are um, pretty specific to me, and so other people are not going to want to use my boilerplate text. And so I used to copy and paste those out of the autocorrect library into my personal library before I shared it each time. But recently I've actually uh, set up the tool so that it will push boilerplate items into my personal hot strings. And you can see here the autocorrect 2 core folder here with autocorrect.2.exe, which starts the app, and the hotstringlib.ahk is the primary library with all of those autocorrect items seen here. So put hotstringlib, and the new ones always get appended to the bottom. A couple of the most recent ones I've added were these two, and then the boilerplate ones get sent to personal hotstrings, which is also open here, and this is the bottom. And notice in HotstringHelper, the radio buttons, AC is the autocorrect library, the hotstringlib, and then BP is the boilerplate library, personal hotstrings. So by default, when you open autocorrect, you probably won't see the radio buttons, and that is because there is a user option that has to be turned on. Without the user option turned on, all of the new hot strings, whether they are autocorrects or boilerplate items, will all be sent to hotstringlib. Also, if neither one of these radio buttons are selected, like right now, the default will be the autocorrect, the hotstringlib. So first, let's check out these buttons along the bottom. The append one, of course, appends it to the end of whichever file. But I want to look at exam. So the exam tool, if you left click it, you see the exam word analysis items, and those are actually all for autocorrect. So we won't be using those at all for the boilerplates. But using the same button, if I shift click or right click, I should see a bunch of buttons here. And depending on your user settings and what you have included in your folders, you'll see different buttons here. But notice the top two are the hot string library, open hot string library. That's this one. The next one is open personal hot strings file, which you might guess is personal hot strings. But down here, check out the one with the gear, uh, configuration settings manager. So this is a front end for the ini file. There's a piece. Actually, let me show you here. In the data folder is acsettings.ini, and that holds all the user preference settings that a person might want to put. And in the section for HotstringHelper, if you scroll down about to the middle of this, you'll see a bunch of boilerplate options, boilerplate prefix, suffix, letters to include, minimum word length, and separate lib for boilerplates. By default, this will be set to 0. So if you enable it, press OK. Hopefully, when you press save, it should restart your HotstringHelper or your autocorrect tool with HotstringHelper, and you'll hear beep beep again. because that's the startup announcement. So once that is enabled, this will appear here. So let's see here. Go back to my agenda items here. There it is. So HotstringHelper, we looked at boilerplates versus autocorrects. And then the configuration tool is that tool that we opened, the blue gear icon, HotstringHelper section. Go to separate lib for boilerplates, turn it on. If you want to use a separate library, if you'd rather just push all of those into the same library, then keep it set to 0. Okay, so we also looked at the difference between those two files. And it's important to notice also when I'm in this file or the hotstring lib, I don't run this specific file. What happens is the autocorrect code has a thing in it that watches for the Control S hotkey, and it tells the autocorrect2.exe to restart if the Control S key has been pressed here. First, it saves this file and then it restarts it. So that therefore, the new items here will be made available to HotstringHelper. And careful if you make changes directly in this file. You can do that, nothing wrong with that. But if you do, you might get duplicate entries where there's one on the disk and one open in your AHK editor. So we don't want that. So I'm going to close this and back to our agenda here. So single line versus continuation style. So let me just show you an example of these. So here's an example of some text I might like to save as a boilerplate. Steve Kunkel, auto hotkey enthusiast. I don't know how to spell enthusiast, so I just put it like that. Fake email, fake phone number. Select the whole thing with my mouse, and then press Control C. And this is what we see. It puts it in the replacement box and then attempts to create a acronym for the trigger string for me. Recommends one. I don't have to use this acronym. I can change it, which I usually do. But what it's doing is it's actually taking the first word, for the first 5 words, it's using the first letter of the first 5 words, and it's skipping words that are shorter than 3 characters. And it's considering this underscore here to be a word, so that's why I got the underscore. I don't want to use that. But I will keep the SKAE. Actually, this is going to be SKAE one, because this is going to be a continuation section one. So watch what happens when I click append. Okay, and then go back to core and what was it? Oh, personal hot strings. Here we are. And if everything it goes as expected, taking its own time here. Personal hot strings. Go to the bottom, and bada boom, bada bing. There it is. The trigger is SKAE, and it's using the continuation section style, which is the open and close parenthesis here, and then everything between that is the hot string. It doesn't even need quotation marks. Now, this is kind of nice because it is what you see is what you get. If you have a big paragraph of things with tabbed columns and that kind of thing, and then it's kind of nice to be able to see it in your script library as it appears in and when it's expanded. So okay, but check this out. I'll do the same one in each. Okay, so this time I want to make my replacement box bigger, so I'm going to press the Make Bigger button. You'll notice the 3 buttons here: Make Bigger, Show Symbols, Unwrap. So bigger. And then with the Unwrap button, what it's going to do is instead of being on multiple lines, it's going to replace those new lines with a literal backtick and an in. What that is an escape character. So an escaped in is the new line. So what this does, I'm going to make this be, hold on, change the trigger here, get rid of the underscore, put a 2, and then append. Okay, and yep, there it is. So the first one we made, SKAE1, is the continuation section one. And the second one is this one, SKEA2. It's all in one line, but you'll see when I come back to my edit field, SKAE1 and SKAE2, they're exactly the same. So both of these expand the same when you run them, but you just have to decide which way you want them in your library. And there are advantages to each, and these are the advantages. So single line, one line of code takes up less space. It's sortable, and I think this is probably the most important piece to consider because me personally, I like to sort my autocorrect items. My hot string library is sorted, and the bulk of my personal boilerplate strings is also sorted alphabetically. Do not try to sort a continuation section style hot string because the AHK editor VS codes here is the one I'm using. It'll just break this, right? It'll take it all apart if you try to sort this, and so that's probably the most important thing to consider, I think. And then again, single line, it uses the backtick and the end. And then the continuation section, what you see is what you get, which is nice, but not sortable, uses the open and close parentheses. And so that is mostly all you need to see about that. And what I want to do now is, uh, let's see, next thing I want to show you is the keeping white space. So I work in schools, do psychoeducational reports and stuff. So when I type out test scores, and we do some academic testing with a kiddo, I like to have the scores in like a column. So that means I need tab characters. The thing is that auto auto hotkey it will automatically trim white space from the beginning and end of text strings in HotStrings. So that it'll get rid of the last tab characters right here. So there's a special thing to do to keep those. One is that I can just simply backtick right there and select this whole thing, and that would preserve that space. But the other is that select this. Not gonna work. All right. Okay, here we go again. So for the academic test areas here, you can tell that the tab characters there are there because the selected region is a rectangle, has a sharp edge on the right there. So select those, press Win H. Nope, here we are. And it's not. Hold on, Win H. There we are. So notice the buttons here. We've already used the unwrap button. Probably don't want to unwrap this one because those tab characters kind of make everything big and wonky. But do check out the Make Bigger button. Just gives us more room to see what's happening. And the Show Symbols allows us to visualize that white space. So spaces, tabs, and new lines. And those symbols that are used can be changed in the autocorrect2.ahk code if you'd like to do that. So turn the symbols off, and hopefully this thing's going to do what I think it's going to do. I press append, and then I hear the beep beep because the thing is restarted into RAM. You don't hear that because my system audio is off, but personal hot strings. Oh, good, it works. So here, notice in that first parenthesis, it has R trim 0. So right trim is actually that's the trimming I was talking about with the white space being removed automatically, and 0 turns that off. So R trim 0 tells it to not take off the last tab character or space character. And so when we play this, basic reading, there it is. And the white space is still there. It has an extra space because I expanded the hotkey by pressing the space key. So, okay, so there is that. So what else do I want to show you before we end here? Let's have a look at the, I guess comments. So you can optionally include a comment in the hot string if you do a continuation style comment. So let's just see here. Comment style append, and let's have this be number 3. And then do it again and do unwrapped. This will be number 4. Okay, we'll get started again, and if we peek in here, hopefully we'll see everything. Yeah, this is what I wanted it to look like. Okay, so this is the one we did before with the academic areas and turning off the trimming. This is the continuation style one. And what I want you to see is that if it's a multi-line item, the comment will be put in line on the same line of code as the trigger. However, if it's a single line item, it will be, of course, at the end of the line on the same line of the comment row. So let's here and just what else do we want to do? Let's have a look at the language tools grammar checker thing. So, um, the spell button is kind of a spell checker to if there's an incorrect word I don't know how to spell, I can click this. Don't have to select the word in here, but the caveat is that it will always look up the whole string. Might make it so that I can just look up a single word. And see, I didn't know how to spell enthusiast, so I could see here that it's spelling it correctly for me, enthusiast with an A. But unfortunately, it's changing my name. It's instead of Stephen Kunkel, I'm Stephen Tunnel. So we don't want that. So just be careful if you use this with the with boilerplate items because it will change things for you. So okay, so enthusiast, so it's correct. Then and another thing we can look at is the look button. And this looks up a word in the dictionary. For this, you actually do have to select a single word and then click look. And hopefully if it works, still loading. The Try Chat GPT is an extra module. Unfortunately, Chat GPT is not free, so you have to pay for credits with their API. But if you wanted to do that, you can, and set it up and just read the prompt, and it'll show you how to set it up. But first, oh crap, what do we have here? Button close. Probably to GUI there. That's okay. Let's try again, and look. And there's our definition. And this is the WordNet dictionary that's embedded here. So WordNet dictionary embedded, free dictionary embedded, and then the spell button uses Language Tools API, which is also free. Not really embedded, reaches out to the internet for that. I think that's mostly everything. Let me also show you the function key, the function checkbox. And so this is for autocorrects. Don't use this with boilerplate items. We'll explain why this is useful for autocorrects in a future presentation, but would never really use it for boilerplates. In fact, even if you did click it, if this autocorrect 2 detects that there's multi-line continuation style, it won't wrap it in an F function because then all of those just makes everything wonky. Up here in the options is the BO and X. Actually, sorry, that's B0. B0 is one option, and then X is another option. Those two options get used with the F function call, and again, not useful for boilerplate items. So if you happen to see those up there, get rid of those. And then let's see, actually, one more thing before I let you go is right-click the exam button, again with the configuration settings tool. We looked at this earlier, and so I have another look here, HotstringHelper. And then down here in the boilerplate area, the boilerplate options. So if you liked it to auto expand without pressing an N key, you can have that. And if you want it to automatically be there every time uh, press the hotkey, then to add it here and save that. The boilerplate prefix, like I said, I like to use a semicolon. Uh, it's also the same key that gets used for uh, auto hotkey comments, which is maybe kind of confusing. But it's a system that I picked up before I even started using auto hotkey, and so all of my boilerplate items are have start with a AC, so that I don't execute them accidentally. For example, the word resume has what the semicolon so that I don't accidentally change resume to resume. Now, some people like to instead use like a slash at the end. So if you wanted to do that, you would get rid of the boilerplate prefix and then go to the suffix, add the slash, and it'll be there by default. The Remember that the first 5 words are used for the suggested trigger that is offered. That's defined here. So if you want a longer trigger, you want it to use the first, 7 letters or whatever, you can change that. I made it skip small words, so that, like the word to or an or a will get skipped. So if you want to skip big words or not, change this value. And then let's see here. We already looked at the separate lib for boilerplates, and I think that's everything. So, oh, I guess the last thing to point out, do click on the little tip button, the question mark, awesome tips. Uh, Select any uh, form item in the GUI interface here and press F1. You also get onboard tips. You can select a button by clicking the uh, clickable item before it and then pressing tab. Tap the buttons, right? Press F1, get information on that button. Can't think of anything else, so I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for watching. This is Steve doing the screencast for AutoCorrect 2. See you next time.